So President Biden is facing a real uphill battle. And this battle is not something that's just going to go away. And it's something that the American people are going to have to sit here and suffer through for almost one full year. Now, today I'm going to explain what's going on. But what is happening at this time is the American people are being put in the middle. We're being stuck in the middle. And this is potentially putting us in harm's way. Again, I'm going to explain exactly what's going on, so make sure you stick around for this entire video, and I'll explain what is about to happen. So the first thing that you need to understand when it comes to President Biden is he is right now 1 year away from the next presidential election, which he looks like he is going to rerun. At this time, we are starting to see polling numbers. These numbers are coming in and showing that the American people want more answers from Biden himself. They want the truth. Well, at the same time, Congress is facing a real uphill battle as well in trying to deliver funding for Ukraine and for Israel. Both of those things are being considered as priorities. However, Congress is away on recess. They will come back in a week. And when they come back, their priority might not even be Israel, might not even be Ukraine. But that is what lawmakers are saying is we need to pass those bills. Now, here's where things start to get very interesting and could be very difficult at the same time. What we know is that Democrats could give in to Republican demands, and they could cut IRS spending by $14.3 billion in order to send that money over to Israel. However, they're not going to do that. We also know Republicans could bend to Democrats' demands, and they could send another $60 billion to Ukraine without pay-fors. However, Republicans stated they are not going to do that. Now, obviously, things could change in 1 week, but I don't think they will. Now, here's why I don't think things are going to end here. What we know is that President Biden is starting to lose a lot of support from people that previously voted for him. They want President Biden to step up. They say we need to bring down inflation even further. 3.2% is still too high. They say we need to settle the war between Israel and Hamas. We need to ensure that the American people can get into homes that they can actually afford. We need to help Ukraine and get Russia back into their own country. And President Biden needs to stop lying to the American people. Our economy is not in a better place than what it was just years ago. So that's what we're hearing. So here's where things get somewhat interesting. Right now, the American people are asking President Biden and the Biden administration to do something, provide some assistance, get Israel to agree to a ceasefire. And in the meantime, let's negotiate this government funding bill that we have to get passed before January 19th and February 2nd. And the reason I bring this up, and this is part of the reason why it's a very uphill battle for President Biden, is because there's a $14.3 billion bill on the table. We know Democrats have rejected it because they want to separate the $14.3 billion for Israel with the notion that we're going to pull $14.3 billion from the IRS. They say, let's separate those bills. Let's have a separate vote. Let's first pass $14.3 billion for Israel, and then we'll take up the next vote, and we will vote for pulling $14.3 billion from the IRS. Republicans say, no, let's just put them together. Democrats say, no, we will not do that. So that's the first bill, which, as of right now, and this is part of the issue, is that these bills, funding for Israel, funding for Ukraine, there's no deadline. We don't know if Israel's going to pull out of Gaza. We don't know that. We don't know if Russia's going to pull out of Ukraine and Ukraine doesn't need the money. Right? We don't know any of that stuff. So there's no deadline for these two issues. And this is why Congress is saying that we have time. We have a lot of time. But this is where things are going to blow up in the American people's face. Listen to this. So there's another idea that let's send funding to Ukraine. It's about $105 billion that's going to go towards this bill, which technically it's about $60 billion that's going to go to Ukraine. But let's fund Ukraine, and this is what Republicans want, and let's put that alongside border security, tougher border security here in the United States, between the United States and Mexico. And so Republicans say, we will pass a bill on additional funding for Ukraine, but in the meantime, we also need that same bill to include legislation that requires tougher border security. And Democrats say, sorry, we can't do that. We can separate those two bills, but we cannot put them together. And so then this is where Republicans say, well, let's put those two bills together. So Ukraine aid, the $60 billion or $105, depending on how much you want. Let's put that alongside tougher border security, and we'll also include funding for Israel. Democrats say, no, we can't do that. But why? Because this is exactly what Democrats wanted. Democrats understand that right now, and Republicans understand this as well, that they have to do something in order to show the American people when it comes time for elections. Right? We've seen this before. We saw this just 2 years ago, where the year before the midterm elections, we saw Republicans were saying that we are going to crack down on the current inflation rate, right? We're going to make sure that inflation's coming down. We're going to stop spending money. We're going to stop pushing more stimulus. We're going to stop doing all that stuff. And it started to bring inflation down. We all saw the Federal Reserve started to hike rates at the same time, which pushed inflation down. These are good things. But Democrats understand that over the past year, what have they really done that's going to help them win more seats in the House, win more seats in the Senate, and keep the presidency? This is where many are saying that Republicans are going to have the advantage in this upcoming election unless Democrats step forward and do something. And this is why I bring this up, because the expectation is that Republicans, especially with the new speaker, Mike Johnson, they're going to start pushing to really get their agenda through. They're going to push their agenda through the House of Representatives. Every single one of those bills is going to hit mainstream media. The people are going to see it. Like, oh, look what Republicans are doing. Look what Republicans are asking for. Look what Republicans want to pass. And it's going to head to the Senate, and it will sit on Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer's desk. He will not even put those bills to a vote unless it's a bipartisan bill. Because Democrats understand if they pass a Republican bill, it's going to hurt them in this upcoming election. Whether or not it's going to be good for the American people or not, doesn't matter. It will hurt them in the upcoming election. Remember when Nancy Pelosi was the Speaker of the House? She was going up against bills that Republicans were putting in front of her. That at the time, then President Donald Trump was putting in front of her. Okay? Additional money for the American people, right? Money for state and local governments, affordable housing, right? Stuff for child care, child tax credit payments, right? All bunch of different things, right? There was even $300 cards that were going to go to Social Security recipients. I don't know if you remember that. But all these things were getting shot down. It was no after no after no. Because then Speaker Nancy Pelosi knew if they passed a bill and it was a Republican bill, it would hurt Democrats' chances in the upcoming election. And guess what happened? President Biden, he won over then President Trump, right? And so these are things that lawmakers are looking at. Okay, can we pass this? Should we pass it? And when should we pass it? Some of these bills that we're seeing right now and some of the help that the United States could be giving, whether it's to people in other countries or right here on our homeland, might not happen until after the election. So just think about that. Just understand that all these different things that people are talking about, all these different potential bills, this might just be the start. And I bring this up because I'm telling you, it's not going to end here. These discussions are going to go on and on and on for almost the next year. So, as we get more information on this, I promise I'll fill you in on all latest news and updates. But as of right now, that is what we know. Congress is going to be very slow to act because there's really not a deadline. The only deadline is government funding bill. And with that, we may see another extension. Congress is just going to keep kicking the can down the road another 2 to 3 months. And eventually, we're going to get all the way up to the election. Then after that, then we finally might see a new bill. So, we'll see what happens there, but I promise I'll be here every step of the way. All you got to do is 2 things. First, hit the like button on this video. Also, click that subscribe button so you never miss an update. And I'll see you guys on the next one.